Hey, what's up? I'm back. So, doing this to show a point here. I was watching The Amazing Lucas and have this Texas caller call in, and hearing the things that came out of her mouth was pretty interesting. And I think there's a real correlation with, um, with women, you know, uh, when it comes to abuse and how it makes them, you know, make different choices in life. It shapes and molds what they do, even when it pertains to their dating partners. And they have a great disdain, you know, as you can see here, for black men. All right, getting into it. Hard Talk Radio.
You're on the line.
What?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm totally offended. I don't know. Why are you so bipolar? You flip-flop. You go from one end of the spectrum to the other.
Okay, let's tackle this. Let's tackle this because I think this is gonna be a fun and entertaining call. First off, I don't care if you're offended. I really don't. Secondly, what is this flip-flop you're talking about?
I don't know. You just go from one extreme to the other. You kind of suck people in. I don't know. You were just conservative.
No,
you were level-headed. You thought logistically.
So conservative, right? The opposite would be liberal, right? Can we agree upon that?
Yeah. Now you sound like a fucking liberal.
Okay, so how do I sound like a fucking liberal?
You just sound like a liberal. Now you're
anti-police. Can you tell me what? Can you give me an example?
You're anti-police. You're hating on Kansas. I mean, like, what's wrong with you?
Let's go to this. As far as anti-police, well, what's the greatest thing the police have done for you?
They protect my
what have they personally done for you?
They protect me from niggers.
No.
I'm a black chick. So let me tell you something. I use the N-word with the hard ER, and they protect me. They protect me from thugs and criminals. The ones that I don't like, the ones that I see hanging out with their fucking pants sagging, they protect me.
Here's the problem, though. When you're a black person, you call other black people, even though they could be low life and they could be scum, and you call them that word, you have to understand that you kind of give racist whites the green card, the green light to go off and say that word too. And the thing is, those racist whites hate you as well.
When was the last time they protected you?
Every fucking day. Every time I see a nigger riding around with his hat backwards and his pants sagging, and he looks at me like he wants to fucking rob me, and I see a cop, I feel elated. I'm happy.
When was the last time? So when
you're against the police, you're against black people. And I can understand why you don't like some things about racism.
I'm asking, when was the last time they protected you?
I'm pro Candace Owens, and I find it offensive that you.
When was the last time?
Okay, Candace Owens is a grifter and a joke. Says white supremacy don't exist. White supremacy is the last thing on the list. Never mind that there are 17 gangs in the U.S. military. A lot of them are white supremacists. Never mind the fact in the L.A. Sheriff's Deputy Department, you have 3 white supremacist gangs that are raising hell on minorities. I just did a story of how they beat up a black man to the point where one of his eyes cannot work. Okay, sheriff deputies in Los Angeles. You got the jump out boys, the banditos, and the executioners. Racism doesn't exist, and she's for Candace Owens. The same Candace Owens that tried to pick up the bait with Cardi B, and Cardi B does nothing about politics. Yeah.
Her and her white husband. I have a fucking white fiance, so
I believe you.
I find that
offensive.
When was the last time the police protected you? They every
Okay,
day.
no, I'm not
They're
asking
protecting
you.
you right now, whether you like it or
I'm asking
not.
about an incident, right? Where an incident where your life was in danger and the police protected you. Can you give me one incident?
I kind of cringe when a woman is like that and they're very much like, I have a white husband. Like that is a point of achievement. Like that is, it's kind of like with black men who say, oh yeah, white, I got a white woman. And that white woman could be totally racist, have bad character traits, and can get away with a lot more because she's white. And if she's that evil, okay. I've heard stories about like men dating white women and they're not even allowed to go on her side of the family for Thanksgiving. They have to sit in the car and get Thanksgiving food.
Well, that's when the niggers, they left my home. They had already broken in. They had already broken in my apartment a long time ago. I remember, and it traumatized the hell out of me because they kicked door in my apartment.
Wait, so someone broke into your home. Where were the police?
They were there when I called them. When I called them, they were there in 5 minutes.
But your house was already broken into. So what was the point?
Exactly. And guess who broke into it? Niggers.
So
that's who broke into it.
What was the point?
Don't you think people are tired of niggers? See, you live in California too long, baby. That's the problem. You've lived there too long. You're so brainwashed.
Police, though?
You need to get the hell out of California because you're throwing your whole career away just to hate on people. You know what I mean?
You explain to me what was the point of calling the police? Your house was already broken into. They didn't do anything.
When you call the police if your house is broken into, no. I had to file a police report.
Okay, so what happened? What did you get? Did you get your stuff back?
No. Well, I got one thing back, but I mean that's how they do. Are you telling me that you're comfortable living around black people? If it's more than 10 black people in an area, I get nervous. I'm sorry. Okay? I used to be just like you. I was a libtard just like you.
Black, right?
I am black.
Okay, and you're saying more than 5 black people you get uncomfortable?
I would give or take 10. If I see more than 10 black people, I get nervous, okay?
And what state were you raised in?
I'm an Army brat. I've lived everywhere, but I'm in Texas right now. And believe me, they have some of the most threatening looking, goonish looking thugs here that you could ever imagine. And you wouldn't hear me talking all that noise if you've experienced the things that I've experienced. And I just think that it's just, it's crazy.
Here's the thing. Well, my issue isn't
necessarily do you live in the hood?
Well,
where do you live?
My issue isn't necessarily with police, right? The issue that I had was with bad officers. That was the point. So when people stopped listening and
what about bad criminals? Why Dante Wright what was he doing? I mean, he shot a kid in the head and caused that kid to be in vegetative state, like, right before he died, like maybe a month before he died.
I'd have to look into that. I don't recall as far as all the dirt that
you should look into it.
But that has nothing.
Trust me, look into it. Dante Wright shot a 16-year-old in the.
I'll look into that, but for some reason I think she may be making some crap up. But I'll look into that because she sounds very ditzy and very very superiority complex because she has a white man.
Are you pro bad cops?
At this point, I'm pro cop. I figure if it's a bad cop, then he's not really a cop anyway.
I'm asking, are you pro bad cops? Like
what
bad
do you mean pro bad cop?
Are you for bad apples in the police department?
I'm pro Derek Chauvin. That's who I'm pro. I'm pro Derek Chauvin.
I'm asking you.
Wow, she's pro Derek Chauvin. She's pro a man abusing his authority. Took his knee, put it on back of a man's neck for almost 9 minutes. Okay, the man was overdosing. The man could have saved his job if the man says he's, oh boy. There was so many ways to handle that without George Floyd dying. This man had a history of abusing his authority. She's pro Derek Chauvin. You see these types of women with this bedwench mentality. Let's just keep going.
I think Derek Chauvin is a bad cop, then maybe I am pro bad cop because I don't think David Chauvin is a bad cop. I actually support Derek Chauvin. I'm sorry. I said David Chauvin. I actually support I'm sorry. George Floyd has facilitated his own death.
Okay, so are you pro?
Yeah, it sounds like I got a white husband now. All facts and relevance is all facts and evidence is out the window. You all are dirty to me. You are peasants. That's what it sounds like. You are peasants. And, you know, white man is God. Get away from me, Blackie. That's what it is. It's sad. It's sick. This is what I'm hearing from her. She doesn't even know the facts. I don't think she knows the facts. Drug overdose or not, he killed that man. He killed that man. The man says, I can't breathe. Flip his ass over. Put him to sit right side up. Handcuffed, sitting down on the sidewalk until EMS arrives. That's not so hard to do.
For bad apples.
I'm for bad apples, maybe, yeah,
Okay.
but to the extent that you would put it, no.
Okay.
Because you're going to paint everybody in that. You're going to paint all the cops in that picture. I can see where it's headed.
No, not at all. I would just say, if I find it interesting that bad apples exist, and most of the time they act with immunity because the good apples apparently are too afraid to say anything. So I just find that interesting.
Well, there's more good cops than bad cops, believe me.
What
I
data
know
would you
plenty
like
of
to
cops
cite for that, though?
Huh?
What data would you like to cite for that?
There's plenty of good cops.
What data would
Trust
you like
me,
to cite
they
for
get
that?
shot at every day. You don't realize black people actually get away with a whole lot that nobody's talking about. They're afraid to talk about it. Black privilege is a real thing. Did you realize that?
No.
I'm
Your
a black
parents
woman, and I
black?
can tell you that.
Are
What?
your parents black?
My mom and dad are black.
Mom
Black
and
as
dad are
fuck.
black. Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you
Well,
have
my
this
dad
view
is
of black
black as
people? I'm
fuck.
curious. What happened?
What?
What happened? Why do you have this view of black people like this? 'Cause it
Why
seems
do
like
I
you
have a
a
view
very
of black? Why
negative
don't
outlook on black
you
people.
have this view of black people? I'm sorry, a black person that comes into my presence, they're gonna have to prove themselves to me. They're gonna have to prove that they're not a fucking libtard, that they actually think with most of their brain, and that they're not a fucking thug and criminal, or they don't glorify thug and criminality.
Do you have that same
So
viewpoint
I don't know if
with
you've
any
ever
other
lived
group of
around
people?
black people, but you don't think, maybe you've lived around a bunch of white people all your life, and so you're looking at it from a white liberal perspective. Because I've lived around hood niggas. And let me tell you, this is why I think the way that I do, okay? So, yeah, I think you've lived around maybe, skateboard kids all your life or
you've had a
something.
negative
You see
experience.
things from a white liberal perspective.
So you seem to have a negative experience with black people, so you've just written them off, is what you're saying.
I'll say this, okay? You will have negative experiences with some black people. You'll have good experiences with black people. But here's the thing to understand is that you have these types of you have scum in every ethnic group, and the way she's coming off is very you're gonna hear what she says. That's the kicker. That's the root cause of her problem.
I don't deal with many blacks. You're right.
Okay.
They're going to have to prove themselves to me. Actually, you're one of the most intelligent blacks that, I've ran across in a long time. So that's why I was kind of drawn to you. And I'm like, well, what happened?
Have you had any negative experiences as far as with maybe white people or any other group of people?
I've had negative experiences with everybody, but
so why do you speak so ill of as far as black people?
Well, black people are the main, they cause a lot of problems, okay? Everybody's had negative experiences with everybody, but the thing is, black people are the most privileged, and they're the most irritating and most annoying people in America because all they do is whine about this privilege. And they take advantage of it, and I'm just tired of it. They have all this privilege, including myself. I know that I have black privilege.
Okay.
But we're going to have to come to terms with that. We're going to have to take accountability, and we're going to have to be honest about it.
Okay. And you vote Republican, of course.
I did. Yeah,
Okay.
I voted for Trump.
All right.
Yeah, that was my first time voting Republican, actually.
Well,
when Trump hit, when I finally came to my senses.
Why are you so, drawn to Candace Owens?
Because I love Candace Owens. I like her stance. I like her stance on a lot of things. It just everything, the way that,
you like about her?
I like her pro-police stance. I like the fact that she wants to protect the borders. I like the fact that she supported Trump. I mean, that's all I needed to know right there.
That's it?
She just, that's a part of it, but
Trump,
there's so
borders.
much. There's a list.
Okay.
a lot to it. And plus, she's a swirler. Team swirl. I'm sorry.
Do you have a boyfriend that's white?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm guessing you tend to date white men.
I do, absolutely. Black guys hit on me all the time, and guess what? I don't even give them eye contact. I look away so that they don't approach me because I am so sick of the victimization, the victimhood. I'm so tired of all the excuses. I wouldn't date a black guy if they paid me $100,000 right now.
Why
I get tired of it.
Men?
I'm sorry?
Did you used to date black men?
I dated a black guy. Yeah, actually in college, of course.
Was it a negative experience?
No, not really. But
So why
see
wouldn't
how
you?
the overall black men, how they are overall. I'm not blind.
But
I
you
can see
personally
what's going
haven't
on.
had a
It's
negative
an overall
experience with dating a black
victimhood
man.
mindset.
But you
sorry?
personally haven't had a negative experience with dating a black man, so why would you just completely dismiss?
I've had negative experience with black men, but not necessarily the guys that I was dating, not the ones that I was with.
Okay, so why would
We've
you
had
dismiss all black men for the
amicable
negative
breakups
experience
and
that you've
stuff.
had? Don't you think that's a bit
I mean,
irrational?
I've had my house broken into by black men. I was, I guess TMI, but I was molested by a black man. What else?
There it is. There it is right there. Some of these women faced abuse. And that, like I said, abuse can really color how you see things in life. A survivor, and this is how she sees. This is where her hatred for black men comes from, and it's unhealed trauma. I don't know what really to say, but it's just really a brainwash. It's kind of a scarred trauma in a way. I can't really say it's self-hate, but I can see that this is where her swirling comes from. It's from trauma.
What else do you need to know? I mean, the
think
ones
that
that I
they're
chose to be
maybe
in a
bad as far as
relationship
bad
with,
people?
they were good guys.
Do you think
I'm
that there
sorry?
may be bad people? That it has nothing to do as far as intrinsically with being black?
Yeah, but I'm sorry. Statistics and data shows that black people, black men are pretty dangerous. So I have to be careful, and that's just my take on it. You don't have to take it. Anybody else doesn't have to take it. But that's just how I do things. You know what I mean? Because I have to be careful. And I'm not saying you don't fit that stereotype. So that's why I'm pretty disappointed, because I actually looked at you and I was like, wow, he's different. You know what I mean? So when you flip-flopped on me, I'm like, okay, I was just a little taken aback. I still follow you. Gotcha. But it's really just out of sheer curiosity at this point. I'm just curious to see what you're going to say. Because you're crazy as fuck. Just like I am, I guess.
So you can see how that her ideals is colored over that traumatic experience. Now, I'll show you another person, because I really got to get off this one stream. I really do. Oh, gosh. Ugh. All right. Next one. I'll show you another one. All right. Here's this person right now.
And because I look just like my father, my mother started to lead me in frustrations of the relationship that failed between my father and her. Yeah. So I was extremely abused, and as I began to get older, I began to get taller and stronger than my mother, and I got to the point at the age of 11 that I was tired of the beating, and when I by reflex grabbed her arm when she took an extension cord and started to whip me with it. When I grabbed her arm, it shocked me, but shocked her. And I remember she beat me worse because I actually stopped her that momentarily, because she's like, I need to teach this child that, and parents back then, I don't think people realize, they said the same. I brought you into this world, and I'm going to take you out. Yeah. And I remember, looking at the webs on my body, and I said, I'm going to take you out. And I thought to myself, and I'm a Christian back then, and I remember getting on my knees and I said, Jesus, help me. And then I was like, you know what? I gotta help myself, and I ran away to live with my father. Now, my father was never abusive. He never put a hand on me, but he was psychologically abusive. And so as I got into, when I left them to go to a historical black college in South Georgia, I made a promise to myself that I'm never coming back. And and once, now I did keep in contact with my family, but it wasn't until I left religion completely that I decided to say, you know what? I don't like you all. If you weren't my family members, I really wouldn't have anything to do with you whatsoever. So guess what? Don't talk to me. I don't talk to you. We're done. And the only person in my family I would keep in contact with was my aunt. And when she died, now, Jesse, I think you understand, sometimes black folks show out at funerals.
Oh, yeah.
And I did. I said, when that dearly departed brought my mom, someone who was more to my mother, more to me, my mother to me than my own biological mother, when that coffin goes down in that hole, I am done with you Negroes. You understand? I haven't talked to them since.
That's an amazing story. But it's so typical in the black family, in the black community, and most people won't deal with it, tell the truth about what's happening in the homes, and as a result of it, it's not being worked out. They're not getting over it. It's just happening from generation to generation. Let me ask, have you forgiven your father and mother for failing you?
And I'm going to be honest here. I can understand why you have blacks that hate, that have a hatred towards low-class black people, especially in their own family. Because, you know, with the woman I just showed you with who called in, who admitted she was molested by a black person, by a black man, in most of those times in those families, they don't deal with it. They don't deal with the person that did that. They don't bring the person accountable for that. They just shove it under the rug when they just, you know, try to sweep it over, especially that person's well liked in the family. Oh, I don't want, you know, nonsense BS excuses. Oh, we want to keep the family together. I know of one incident when I was talking to a woman and she told me about what happened to her and her family dealt with that person. I know of one instance where a woman told me about what happened to her when she was young, and she told her family, and her uncles got a hold of that dude. Okay. And actually did something about it. Usually in black families, it doesn't, they sweep it under the rug. So I can understand the hatred towards an individual like that. I can understand it. I could understand that. I can understand why not dating black men. But the hatred, the unnatural hatred, that is something that is toxic. Well, let's keep going. This is another example. This woman right here, she was abused. And this is why she's the way she is today. All right, keep going.
I have, and I absolutely, I have forgiven them, but I still consider them enemies.
Wow. And have you told them that you? Oh yeah. That you forgiven them?
Yes.
You did. Okay.
But not in a nice way, Jess.
Oh, well, that's not forgiveness.
No. I don't. I'm going to be respectful on your show and not use profanity. But when I talk to them, I wasn't as kind. And just because I used harsh words doesn't mean that I didn't forgive them. It was a way of me expressing that just because I said I forgive you doesn't mean that the door is open for you to come back into my life. So I needed to put emphasis on that by using some, very harsh words that were very disrespectful to them, so that they know that I was serious about we're never going to be in any kind of relationship ever again.
That's amazing. How do you see black men?
I I'm still working on. Okay, I got black men in two categories, and I understand that because I don't have a loving relationship with my father, that it's making a challenge for me to have a loving relationship with black men.
Yeah.
So I am telling black men who are either trying to become friends with me or even trying to be, trying to have an intimate relationship with me as far as a partner is concerned. I'm letting them know, no, you need to be careful because I'm working out some baggage from my own father. The first man I ever loved was not a good man to me. Yeah. When I see your black face, I see my father. So you have to understand that you have to be careful with me, and if I react in an irrational way, this is where it's coming from. Call me on it, work it with me, but if you get triggered, if you give me what I'm looking for, it's going to get worse, and you will be banished out of my life.
That's amazing. Do you have perfect peace?
Oh, yeah.
You have peace within?
Yeah.
So we could see that the fact of the matter, there was trauma there. And, the woman here is tree of logic. I'm not making this to diss or anything, but you can see why she has a more of a infatuation to dating white men. Okay. It's due to childhood trauma. That's just how it is. And this is how it plays out, and she just even said the man, when she sees a black man, she sees her dad. So it comes at, a point of like, for a black man to date her, there would be trauma there, and that man would have a lot of patience. And that's just it. And you have to be willing to be on guard. And when she goes through some trauma, when she has a flashback, you got to be able to call her out on it. It's just how it is. I mean, that's why it's like dealing with a person with trauma is really a handful. It is personal experience. It is. Let's keep going.
Yes, I do.
And what does that feel like?
It feels safe. It feels comforting. It feels blissful. I'm very happy. Yeah.
Do you want to get married and have a family?
I want to get married. Now that I stopped traveling, I will get married one day. I'm in a situation where I came from Germany last year. I was living there for 5 years, and I came to Germany back because of the migrant crisis. And I came back to unfinished business. That's my fault. I let a lot of things. I didn't take care of some business here in America before I went to go live in another country. And now I have to do that. My intentions is to move to Texas, but I don't want to get in a relationship until I get there. And I value marriage. I don't want to have children because I am afraid that I will subconsciously do to my children what my mother did to me. I have not received any therapy for that, and I have not had any type of counseling to show me this is how you're supposed to treat children. Right now, the only foul I got is if a child disrespects you. Now, by the way, I don't do this to other people's children. Actually, a lot of people's children love me because I'm like their bodyguard and their teacher, and I don't talk to them like children. But it's different when you have someone with your skin color, your eyes, your facial, whatever you see you in what that you created. And I think that's the reason why my mom was so abusive to me, because she saw my father and her in me. Therefore, because she had self-hatred for herself, and also my father, she decided to beat me to beat herself.
Okay. All right. So that's it in a nutshell. It's basically how you see with women who have been traumatized, they end up, you know, they end up having this, it pushes you in different directions. I've dated women who have been molested. I've dated women who've been abused. It pushes their mind in a different direction. Okay. Sometimes you hug them, but after a while it's like, it kind of where you have to have very strong patience. And for some of them, they have to date outside the ethnic group because they can't cope with what has happened to them. They see a black man, they want to attack, you know, and can push them in the direction of swirling. So what do you guys think? Do you think abuse can push you into being in interracial relationships, but it's for the wrong reasons, and you may be ending up bashing black men because of it? Okay, I'm not talking about you know, I'm not talking about trio logic in a bad way. I'm just saying, do you think that could happen? Let me know in the comments. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you think. All right, later. I'm also on Anchor. I'm also on Spotify, if you want to check me out there. Soon we'll be back on Podbean and Spreaker.